Hey, it's Rebecca, and you're listening to the Resilient by Design podcast. Today, we're talking about projects. We're talking about process, the nitty-gritty of running an interior design job and how to be productive. It can be chaotic. Like, oh my, the stories I could tell. But seriously, guys, holy heck. I think literally for the first 8 years that I worked in this industry, I assumed that every project was total and sheer chaos, like running around, fielding a phone call from a trade, needing to drop everything and run to site to check up on something, trying to frantically send a picture to a supplier because I needed to find a substitute. It was brutal. Actually, it doesn't have to be. It took me a while to get there. I hope that you get there a lot faster than I did. Today, I'm going to delve into how you can make your project, or run a project more specifically, in a much more productive way to make everyone a little bit happier. So here we go.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
This podcast episode is in direct response to an Instagram follower who messaged me and said, hey, I would love to hear more about how you run a productive project. So here you go. If anybody out there listening has an idea for a podcast or wants me to talk about something specific or even interview someone in particular, please send me a message on Instagram at Ms. Rebecca Hay, MS Rebecca Hay. And if you're not following me there already, guys, you got to do that. All right, running a project. When I started in this business, okay, first of all, let me tell you, my first job was working for a stager. I think stagers have it figured out. Let me tell you why. I was living in Vancouver. I'd finished design school. I was the day leader at the Earls on Fur Street. If anyone from the West Coast and you've been to Van, you know that place is an institution. And I was working part-time trying to get my foot in the door in the design industry. And I was working part-time at this place called Decora. I don't know if they're still around. I think that was the name. Gosh, isn't that funny how I forget things? And they had been on TV. They had some kind of HGTV show about home staging. So I knew who they were, and they were on my radar. So I started working for them. They were a pretty big operation. They had a pretty big warehouse, like North Van or something like that, or Burnaby, or one of those places outside the center. I did not have a car, I will tell you, which was a hindrance. And so I told them, don't worry, I will rent a zip car every time you need me. I will do whatever it takes to get work and experience. That is a whole other podcast. I'm going to start taking notes when I start going off on a tangent, when I'm like, oh, this is such a good topic. Because I think, anyways, okay, Rebecca, zip it. Stagers, what a great system. They had this huge warehouse. So I would go and I was just an assistant stager, and they had I looked up to the main stagers. I was like, oh my gosh, what a job. You're so lucky. I didn't get to do anything except unpack things and pack things. I learned the best ways to pack and unpack dishes and glasses and all the things. But you know what? These are skills you take with you for the rest of your life. But they had a warehouse and you could pick everything. So somebody would come in, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know the back end. I was not privy to that information at that time as a lonely assistant. But somebody would hire them, I would assume. And I'm assuming it was a flat fee. I think most stagers do that now. And it was hey, the house is empty. We need to sell it. So you give us however many days. They would pick everything from their warehouse, which let me tell you is super duper easy. When I first started my business here in Toronto, I tried to do staging as well. Like I was like, I will do anything. I will do anything for $1. I can stage, sure. I had no idea what to charge. I'm sure I undercharged. It was so much work. I had to rent everything myself, and I couldn't really mark it up because I was trying to compete with big staging companies. It was a disaster. But those companies had everything in their warehouse, or that one anyways in particular did, and they picked it all, right? It was like rinse and repeat. Go, I would meet them there at the house. That was the fun part for me. We'd set everything up, we'd put all the accessories out, and then it would sit there. And then after so many days or weeks or whatever, they would go back, or we would go back, and we'd tear it down, meaning we'd pack everything up, put it in boxes, take it back to the warehouse, and put it away. It was so straightforward. Fast forward to my first job really in interior design, working on client projects with full service residential, night and day. Night and freaking day. Oh my God. Holy chaos. I was not prepared for it. School did not prepare me. I don't think anyone can actually be that prepared. Actually, if anyone, I would have been the most prepared because I managed a restaurant. And if anyone here's worked in a restaurant before, you know how crazy it is, right? I mean, at least at Earl's, they would cap you usually at about 5 tables. But like you are trying to cater to everybody's needs. Everyone's at a different stage of their meal. If you're lucky. If you're not, then you're helping other servers to run their food to their tables. You're dealing with the kitchen. As a manager, I was managing other people and trying to coordinate and help out where needed. Like it was like boom, 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 fast action, wear a lot of hats. Design is very similar. But even when I started out in design, this was not a system the way they had at Earl's. Hats off to that company, by the way. They've got it nailed down. But what happened was, we would be like, okay, so we got a new design project, and like, tell me if you can relate to this, or just like, nod your head. You get a job. Awesome, so exciting. Yep, I'm charging hourly. Cool, don't know how many hours it's going to take. Doesn't matter, because you guys have so much money. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Cool. So we want to furnish our main floor, let's say. Okay, cool, great. We're going to go hunting. We're going to go find some fabrics. So let's go find the fabrics, and then I'll show you the fabrics. Great. We've spent like 6+ hours finding all these fabric schemes, go through them at the office. Then we go to the client's house, lay all the fabric options out. So I'm like, here are all the fabrics. I was thinking of this for the sofa, and like that could be really great with the drapes. Like essentially including the client in my process, which now in hindsight, I realize was a mistake. Because not only did it add to the number of hours, it also takes away from them seeing you as the expert. A lot of the time, people, and I think especially in high-end design, people just want you to tell them what's best. And when you're there in front of the client saying, well, if we did this, it's kind of more of a gray sofa. So if we did this gray sofa, I think this would be really great for the drapes, and this would be great for the little ottomans. But you could switch it. And if you switched it, then maybe you introduce this other small print into the pillows. Guys, do you know what I'm talking about here? And usually everyone was very gracious and grateful, and they're great. Okay, that's great. So we're going to get rolling on that. We'll start placing the orders for the drapes, and then we're going to continue picking. So we keep picking, and we come back with a floor plan. We show them, this is what the sofa is going to actually be. Are you happy with the arm style? Okay, well, why don't you meet us at LT, which is a furniture store here in Toronto? Why don't you meet us, and we'll just do a little once over, and we'll show you the dining tables that we like. Cool, okay, drapes are being made, dining table. We go, we check it out, then we see some chairs, and we think, oh, it'd be kind of, do we want upholstered chairs? I don't know, we didn't pick fabric for that. Oh, they like the idea of upholstered chairs. Okay, well, let's get some fabric. Let's get some fabric options. Okay, back to their house. Fabric options for the chairs, for the dining table. We bring them. Yeah, we've already got these fabrics on order. The drapes are being made. This is great. They've already measured for the drapes, so that's being made. And the carpet, we already picked that carpet, so that's being made as well. Here's the fabric for the dining chairs. Great. Yep. Okay, here's some options. If we go this route, well, that would mean that the curtains don't work anymore, but we already ordered that fabric, so we can't go that route. Oh, but I love that fabric. Yeah, I know, sorry, but we already ordered the fabric for the drapes, like that's a done deal. Yeah, okay, fine, yeah, you know best, Rebecca, and whoever you're with. And then, fine, We pick a fabric. Then we go and we order the custom chairs to go with the beautiful dining table that we found at the furniture store. Then it's like, oh, the drapes are ready to be installed. Oh, we gotta hustle. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, when can we get them in? When can we schedule? Okay, schedule the drapes next Tuesday. Okay, cool. Drapes are going in, but nothing else is ready. Oh, doesn't matter, right? Let's get the drapes in. Let's get the payment. We'll pay our vendor. That's squeaky clean. Oh, it's starting to look so good. Great. Drapes are in. Maybe there's an issue. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. You're there with the installer. He calls you when he's on his way. And you're like, okay, I'll meet you there in like half an hour. Drapes are being installed. And then the client's there. Oh, wow. These drapes are so much more yellow than I expected. How's that going to work with that sofa again? I can't remember what the fabric looks like. Oh, yeah, no, it's going to look great. Remember, it's that thing. I've got a picture on my phone, I think. Let me see if I can show you the picture on my phone. Because we didn't leave, and that was the one smart thing that I've always never done. Does that make sense? Is don't leave your fabric samples with your clients. They'll obsess over them. Don't do it. And so you're like talking them off the ledge and okay, everything is fine. But now you're feeling a little queasy and you leave and you think, oof, I wonder, I'm second guessing myself. Will the sofa match the drapes? I mean, it's custom. Like I can't return that thing. Okay. And it goes on like this. Many of you listening have no idea what I'm talking about. Good for you. You're the lucky ones. But I think the majority of designers know what I'm talking about. This is called a lack of process. And a lack of process is going to lead to a very inefficient and not productive project. Not to mention, it will lead to frustration on the client side and agitation on the design side. So here's the thing. When I finally figured out that I needed a process, it was thanks to the Business of Design, Kimberly Seldon's 15 Steps. I found it like I thought like an angel had come down from the heavens and given me the answer to all my problems. Because here's the thing. Whether it's her 15-step process or your own 5-step process, or we've now morphed into a 7-step process in our firm. Whatever your process is, or if you don't have one, well, you need to get one. You can communicate that process to your clients and make everything seem much simpler. So in order to be productive when you're running a project, you need to be smart. You need to batch your work. So first thing I suggest you do is you design everything up front. You pick everything. And I mean everything. I'm sitting in my daughter's nursery turned office right now and I'm looking at the orange drapes and there's like a trim detail, like little pom-poms on the edge that I had made. Well, this is for my son when he was born, like, oh my God, 6 years ago. But I picked that. You pick the trim on the drapes, pick the drape fabric, you pick the finial colors, the rod color material or finish. You pick the wainscoting style for the walls. You pick the paint color almost, or options. Actually, that's the one thing I kind of leave. I say, this is the idea, but I'd like to paint it on the wall. You pick the office chair. You pick the desk. You pick the carpet. You pick the light fixture. You pick the bowl that's going to go on the table. Okay, maybe not that far, but you get the idea, right? Maybe you even pick the art. Before you do all of this, before you show your client. Now, here's the thing. So many people say, yeah, but like, oh my God, what if they don't like it? I really need their feedback. I'm collaborative. Yeah. Sure, collaboration is lovely inside your office behind closed doors where the client can't see you. Trust me, they value your expertise. They want you to show them the best case scenario, what you think. If it doesn't gel with them, that's okay. That's why you have revisions. So my first tip is you need to design everything up front, and I will tell you it is painstaking and it is so much work. The first few times I did this, I wanted to just bury my head in the sand because I kept saying, well, no, we can leave that. No, we'll leave that for later. Because my experience was, we'll pick the finishing details later. We'll pick the occasional table later. We'll pick the hardware for the kitchen later. No. You pick it all now. And the reason you do that is because it will save you so much time in the long run. You pick it all and you show your client. You can offer as many revisions as you like. You can bill hourly for that. You can do whatever you want, but I highly recommend it. If you don't already do it, it is going to change your life. And I do not say that lightly. It will change your freaking life, people. It's been such a game changer. And I will tell you, the first time I did it, I was sweating. My clients were coming into our office for a presentation. And I'm like, yep, this is how we do it. We present it. And I'm pretty sure the first time I did it, I probably hadn't picked absolutely everything because it was so out of character for me to do that I'm a designer, I'm a creative. I like to see where the world takes me, and maybe I'm in a store and I get inspired, and once I go and I see the kitchen. And that's really nice if you're doing your own house. But if you want to have a scalable business that is productive and efficient, you need to do it this way. Guys, just try it my way. Try it like 2 or 3 times and then tell me. And then if you still don't like it, that's cool. I'm just trying to help. And what I found that first presentation, I was sweating. I was so nervous. I'm like, what if they don't like anything? What if I've missed the mark entirely? Like, I had a questionnaire, and obviously I got all kinds of feedback on what their tastes were or what I interpreted them to be. And they came into the presentation and they looked at everything and they were like, wow, yeah, we love it. And I'm waiting for but this needs to change, but that, but what about that? But no, there was no but. It was like, we love it. Now, there was a but, and that was all about budget. But let's save that for another podcast, shall we? I was terrible at budgeting. I was like, oh my God, I was never in the ballpark. Terrible. But they loved everything. And as a designer, isn't that what you want? You want your clients to see your vision and just fall in love. And it was awesome. And every single time after that, now there's always going to be a but here and there, and some clients are more trusting than others. And that is about attracting the right client. But I will tell you that it makes the whole process so much more efficient because now you've selected everything. Sure, you go through a round of revisions. We do 1 round, sometimes 2. But whatever you want for your process to include. And then once the revisions are done, that's when you don't have to make any more design decisions. Unless something ends up being back ordered or something arrives damaged or something shows up in the wall that you didn't expect and you need to change an architectural detail or something like that is inherent in a renovation, renovation or whatever it might be, like in an installation. You might need to make some decisions, obviously, but no more design decisions need to be made, and you can get the client to sign off and you're done, and you're not running around reselecting, finding something that's going to match something you picked 2 months ago that you really can't remember, right? It's amazing. So you want to batch your work. So you're batching the design early on, and that's also an opportunity if you have someone working with you that you can say, listen, and this actually came up in my podcast recording interview. Oh my God, the more I talk, the less I can talk, with Tiffany Lee of Tiffany Lee Design. And she really hit the nail on the head with this, where she talked about how she explains to her clients that up front, because she charges hourly, that early in the process, it's going to be a little bit more expensive in the design time because it's going to be front loaded with all the design decisions. And because she's in charge of those and her rate is higher than her assistant, it will cost a little more. But it's kind of reassuring for the client to know that then once the decisions are made, then my junior or assistant will be managing the ordering process and the installations, and therefore it'll be billed at her lower hourly rate, which means you can expect the billing to decrease, which is also kind of a nice thing for a client to hear. We actually bill a flat fee. And if you guys participated in our workshop last week, then you would know, if you got the download, you see my full pricing structure was included there. But anyhow, so batching your work. You need to have a streamlined process that you can communicate to your clients to eliminate the chaos. So steps. There's a great book called Traction. It's probably my Bible. It talks about steps, and they say ideally you should have no more, I think it's like 5 to 7 steps in your process. It might even be 3 to 5. I'm not sure. It's pretty low, actually, number of steps for a client-facing document so that they can understand. But I think clients really respect that and value it. And I pride myself in that we communicate every step to our clients. So we send a what to expect document when we're moving into the next phase or the next step of the process so that they know what to expect. So they're not like, hey, what's happening next? I always say to my team, we have failed if our client calls us or emails us asking what's next. It means we did not anticipate that question and we did not tell them in advance what to expect. And it still happens. I mean, we're not perfect. But I do say that's kind of my one big thing in my goal when it comes to customer service is educating the client on what's going on so that they can see what's going to happen. Now, if there's like an issue and like, oh, the tile was broken, I don't know, and they want to know even that, no, because I feel like we would say to them, this tile got broken, here's what's going to happen. We're going to order the substitute tile, the contractor's going to come back, they're going to retile, grout, blah, blah, blah. So there really should never be there should never be a client coming to you saying, well, now what happens? And now what happens? Because that's a feeling of insecurity. And our goal as a designer is to make our clients feel safe and secure and remind them that they've made the right decision by hiring us. Okay, so revisions is important. That's part of the batching process. So you want to design up front, then you want to do your revisions, get sign off, and then you want to implement. And you want to follow things through, place all the orders and do all that together. A great thing that you can do to be more productive in this phase is using a project management software, something like an Asana. Asana, A-S-A-N-A, is what we use internally, but there's other programs like Trello. I used to use Trello. That's also a great one. There's so many. You can Google it, but whatever you use, there needs to be a system, especially if you're more than one person. Even if you're one person, I think it's helpful just to keep all the tasks organized. And the reason I like digital for that, and I'm typically analog, like pen to paper person, is that things are changing all the time. If I used the paper agenda, I'd be scratching things out like on the regular. So I like that you can drag things, give them a new date. You can see with Asana, you can assign tasks to other people within your organization, which is great. So I can assign a task if it has to do with marketing. I'll assign it to Vera, then we'll have a conversation about it, and I'll send her a graphic and say, I kind of want this to look like this. Or maybe when it comes to ordering, I might assign an ordering task to our office manager and say, did you follow up? It's just a really great way to stay in communication without having to send a million emails. I think emails can be very time consuming when they're done within an organization. Another amazing program is Slack. We use Slack more than we use anything else. I would say Asana we don't use it to its full extent. It's almost like an afterthought. We put all the tasks in there, but then we end up just communicating on Slack. Slack is really great. You can have separate channels based on projects. So every project has a channel. So when we're communicating about something, like I was just communicating with Rebecca Weatherall, one of my associate designers, about a project. And she was like, hey, she sent me a link via Slack to an alternate outdoor table from Elty. What do you think about this one? It's only $7,000 more than the original selection. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I'm like, it's really great. Show it to the client. But that's a great tool to quickly get in touch with each other, but then also to document, because everything is saved in that platform and it's searchable. So you can say, well, you Slacked me on June 11th and you said this. It's now July 11th. Like, what's going on? So that's a really helpful way to be productive. Also, I would say the to-do list. That's how I feel about to-do lists. Oh man, guys, I'm a recovering to-do list addict because I love the sense of accomplishment when you strike something off or when you check it off, right? Am I right? Anyone else with me here? Maybe it's like a perfectionist thing. I don't know. It's just a thing. It just feels so good. Like you want to feel like you're moving the needle. And I don't want to take that feeling away from you. But I want you to be very aware of the fact that if you're so focused on a to-do list, that means you're not prioritizing. And what I mean by that, actually, I did a podcast. I'll tell you what the episode was. You can go back and listen to it. It's about productivity, not really project-based, but more like in your business. It's episode number 3, early baby episode. It's the power of routine and time management. But I talk about how you can prioritize tasks for the day, which is a really great way of making sure you get the very important things done first before you tackle all the tiny, because everyone has like tiny to-dos. And usually what happens is you go and you gravitate to the little things because you can quickly check them off. And then you look at your list and you feel like you're being super productive, right? You guys know what I'm saying? Like imagine you have 10 items on your list and like 2 of them are big. Like one is record a podcast. Well, that's time consuming. One is email Steph about a podcast recording. One is create worksheet for the Momentum Challenge. One task is post Instagram. One task is, I don't know, send Vera that email. Like, I don't know, whatever it is. And immediately your brain is like, you look at the list and you're like, what is the quickest, easiest thing that I can do to get out of the way to clear me up time to do the big thing, right? Here's the thing. That is your brain's way of trying to help you. Because in theory, yes, it makes sense. It's logical. Get the small shit out of the way and then focus on the big stuff, right? But the reality is we only have so many hours in the day. And especially if you're homeschooling, or especially if you're just a parent or have 2 jobs, or I don't know what all the other responsibilities in your life are, but I'm sure you have others than your to-do list. And so what happens is we spend the bulk of our day, which usually is the morning, which is actually the most productive time of the day for most people. We spend / waste that checking all the little things off. Instead, what we need to be doing is prioritizing our day and setting aside time to tackle the little tasks. And for me, I really try in the morning to batch anything big that I have to do. So maybe it's record a podcast. Maybe it's really like write a blog post. Maybe it's even go to site to inspect the wainscoting and trim detail when I'm like fresh and I'm with it, and get that big task out of the way so I'm not scrambling at the end of the day to run to a job site when, let's face it, most trades have probably already left. And then I'm in traffic trying to get home for my kids. And then I get home and I'm stressed and I'm exhausted. So it takes a little bit of planning, and you need to look at your to-do list a little differently, but I think that will help you be a lot more productive. That's it. I'm sure there's lots of other things that you can add in, but I really would say that in order to run a project really smoothly, you need to be organized and batch it. So either you're batching your daily activities, but you're really batching the big ones. So doing the design up front. That is a huge one. It is game changing. And I think you will really appreciate having done it. If you don't do it already, definitely try it. You might already be doing it, but maybe not to the full extent. It's like, you're like, I kind of have dipped my toe in that water, but no, I like to wait and pick the kitchen hardware once the kitchen is in. But then what if the beautiful hardware that you want isn't in stock and you have to wait? Do you then have to reselect? Oh, you have to reselect. You have to pick something that's in stock and you're bummed and your client's bummed, but your client's like, well, I need to use my freaking kitchen. Right? There's more considerations than just your creative feeling. Unfortunately, we are running a business. It's not just about being the creator and the artist. It's about being strategic to run a project so it's productive and efficient. All right. That's my takeaways from all of that. Guys, please review my podcast. Give me a thumbs up or stars or 5 stars and say, hey, I love this podcast. Others should listen. It would mean the world to me. And of course, you can always go back and listen to old podcasts, and follow me on Instagram at Ms. Rebecca Hay, MS Rebecca Hay, and I'll see you soon.